In the last session, we had look at the part one and part two of the Indian Constitution, and we were supposed to look at fundamental rights provided by the Constitution. But I postponed it to another session. I've made it clear that part three of the Constitution, which is from Article 12 to Article 35, talks about fundamental rights. It's very important because it's a very important component of any constitution. To write a constitution of a country, first of all, in the earlier sessions or discussions, we have defined that the part one talks about territory of India, part two talks about citizenship issues, and part three of the constitution, Indian constitution, talks about fundamental rights. Here, it is very important for me to define what is a right and what is a duty. In the further parts of the Constitution, it talks about duties. But now let us just focus on rights. What's a right? Right is the duty of the state's duty to provide rights of citizens. What is a duty? Duty is a right of the state. A right can demand, the state can demand from individual, it has a right within the sovereign territory of India to demand from an individual certain standards or certain kinds of conduct. But for now, it's enough to say that right is a duty of the state. These things are liberties of individuals. The state must try to provide it. And it very clearly says what is what. When you walk on the road, your rights are protected by the Constitution. But let us go step by step, hopefully up to 12 to Article 35. Word by word, if we can. I think I've just got one textbook here. There are two texts. I've only gone through one text. Article 12 of the Constitution. It defines the state, government, and parliament of India and the legislature of each of the state and local authorities with the territory of India or under the control of government. I told you that right is a duty of a state. What is a state? What is the Constitution saying? Article 12 of the Constitution under part 3 says what is the state? State is from the minutest organ near your house to the police station up to the various other divisions of various other kinds or manifestations of government offices or government setup, all come under the state. The state would mean various organs at a local level, at a slightly more global level, within the territory of India. A police station near your house represents a state. It's a state body. So it's very clear who should enforce rights. The state. It's the duty of the state. The state means parliament also. It means legislatures also. It means local bodies also. It means semi-autonomous government institutions. They all come under the overall ambit of this word called state. Now, this is an important thing. This is an important thing. The state, I told you, right, is a duty of the state. The state has certain duties which it tries to vehemently implement through many of these organs of the state. Now, having said it, Article 13. Now, Article 13 gives a warning to the government. The government cannot pass any law which is violative of these human rights which you're talking now. Which means a state legislature cannot pass a law which is violative of what's written in the Constitution. If the constitution says this is the human right, state bodies cannot pass laws which are violative of what is said in within these articles or rights of the constitution. That means they have limited power. What is written in the constitution is supreme. Altering some of these rights which is written in the constitution, the states cannot modify, change on its own accord, because constitution is a text which is supreme. So that is very clear. For example, let me just read out what's written here. The state shall not make any law which takes away or abridges the rights conferred and make any law which is in contravention of this clause, to the extent of the contravention be void. Now I think I'm making myself clear. If they make something contravention means something which contravenes, which goes against what's written here, it is void. At some level, it is seen as void. That means we say that what is written between Article 12 to 35 of the Constitution with regards to rights is supreme. Now I am going to Article 14. Article 14 of the Constitution, Part 3 of the Constitution. Article 14, equality before law. In front of the law, everyone is equal. Let us see what exactly is written here. The state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or the equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. That means no one, it's not that no one is above the law. Within the legal system, everyone is treated equally, irrespective of economic status, irrespective of any other status. In front of the law, everyone is equal. That is the fundamental, that's a fundamental human right. That means there can be no discrimination between man and woman. There can be no discrimination between any other kind, from the viewpoint of any other parameters. So that is what very clearly stated Article 14 of the Constitution under Part 3 of the Constitution, equality before law. What is Article 15 of the Constitution? Very well written. Prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Now, I think I've made this. It has many kinds of other riders around with it. Prohibition of discrimination. That means I cannot discriminate anyone. That's what it simply means. On the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. In a country like India, everyone is Indian citizen. It does not matter in which part of India he is born. He cannot be discriminated against just because he was born in some other place. So this is a very important guarantee, at least the Constitution gives. Why should we study the Constitution? Why should we have read the Constitution? Yeah, within this Article 14 of the Constitution, 15 of the Constitution, I was just telling very carefully. Article 15 of the Constitution. Article 14 of the Constitution is equal to law. Article 15 says the prohibition of discrimination, and we are slowly going to Article 16. Article 15 would also mean prohibition of discrimination. Also, somewhere it is written the right to live anywhere in India could also come from this Article 15 of the citizen of India can live anywhere within the territory of India without being discriminated against. Beautifully written, and most constitutions in the world have got such clauses. We also have such clause. Let me remind you that Constitution is a text from which various laws are derived. Let us take a case study. Mr. X has been discriminated against because of his place of birth. This happens in India. It's an unconstitutional thing. It may not happen within central government circles, but definitely happens at local level circles. It happens at the workplaces in private organizations. It happens in the workplaces in certain other kinds of institutions at the local level. No one follows the constitution to the fullest extent, but you must understand that whatever that person doing is unconstitutional. If I discriminate someone based on place of birth or race or whatever it might be, you can go to the state, which is the police station near your house, and give a written complaint, or near your office, give a written complaint of discrimination. Now, 16, Article 16, equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Opportunity of public employment open to anyone, irrespective of any caste or race bias. Article 17 of the Constitution says abolition of untouchability, which used to exist, um, uh, which used to exist before. Article 18 of the Constitution, abolition of titles. Can an Indian citizen, abolish of titles, can an Indian citizen accept any title given by a foreign government? The answer to that is no. He cannot accept any title given by any foreign government. That is the meaning of prohibition of titles. I hope I can rest. I just write one statement here. There's so many other subclauses here. No title, not being a military or academic distinction, shall be conferred by the state. It says that local bodies cannot give such title. Means the state cannot give the title. The authority to give titles is only with the central government. No citizen of India shall accept any title from any foreign state. There are so many other things here. Of India shall, while he holds the office of prophet, accept without the consent of the president any title from any foreign state. Well, the same. Well, same. That means you cannot. The local bodies cannot give titles, and titles cannot be conferred on a Indian citizen by foreign states. It cannot be accepted. Of course, in certain cases, with the permission of the President of India, it might be, but it is unconstitutional if it is done suo moto. Now, then we go to Article 19 of the Constitution. Fantastic. In this says freedom of speech. I will try to read through this. So many things here. Freedom of speech and expression. To assemble peacefully and without arms. See, very important. There's a constitutional right. To assemble peacefully without arms. To form associations or unions. Making a union is a constitutional thing. This is the most important thing for me. Most important thing for me. Under Article 19 of the Constitution. To move freely throughout the territory of India. That means you can move freely throughout the territory of India. No one can abstain you from moving. Now, there are so many other riders here like this, but it talks about freedom of speech, right to assemble peacefully, right to make unions. And it also says the right to move freely throughout India. Very important point I've touched here in Article 19 of the Constitution. Fantastic. That means we are going through, I'm talking about fundamental rights. Somewhere if someone asks you what are the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution, you must be able to write these things or at least say these things. Now, Article 20 says, gives the citizen a protection under conviction of offences. The state must behave responsibly when it convicts someone of offences. Let us see what this Article 20 really says. Law and for the state, the Commission of Act charged by the offence not to be subjected to any penalty greater than that would might have been inflicted under the law. It is very clear. No person shall be prosecuted and punished for the same offence more than once. No person accused of offence shall be compelled to be a witness against himself. Offence except for violation of the law in the force of the act charged with offence not subjected to penalty. Fantastic. It says if you have been convicted for some offence, the penalty must be exactly what that offence says. You cannot punish him twice for the same offence. Something like that. It talks about conviction, gives certain rights to you. If you are convicted under the law for breaking the law, what law you have broken? Based on that, the punishment also will be commensurate to that. There should not be something beyond that. At Article 20 of the Constitution, fantastic, human rights. 21, protection of life and personal liberty. Article 21 of the Constitution. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. That means his personal liberty should not be curtailed. Article 21 of the Constitution. Article 20, protection of life and personal liberty. No one can stop your liberty to move from one place to other place. You cannot be bound. Article 21A is right to education. The state shall provide free and compulsory education to all children of the age of 6 to 14 years in such a manner as the state may by law determine. Right to education, see it very clearly. Article 21A. Fantastic. Article 22, protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Article 22, protection against arrest. No person who is arrested shall be detained in custody without being informed as soon as may be of the grounds for the arrest, nor shall he be denied the right to choice. That means if someone comes to offense, you must tell him what offense on which he is being convicted. State, I told you, police station is an organ of the state. It has to work within certain state guidelines. It may not be doing so, but on paper it is written very clearly. The Constitution of India. 22. Now, there are so many things written here under Article 22 of the Constitution. Protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Ah, look at this beautiful thing. I should read this beautiful thing which every public should know. Article 22, Clause 2. Every person who is arrested and detained in custody shall be produced before the nearest magistrate within a period of 24 hours of such arrest, excluding the time necessary for the journey for the place of the arrest to the court of the magistrate, and no such person shall be detained in custody beyond the said period without the authority of the magistrate. Prevention of illegal detention. Article 22 of the Constitution. You should know this. You should know this. Everyone should know this. That means the state has to behave in a in an responsible way. Now, Article 23 of the Constitution. Prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Human beings cannot be trafficked, and they cannot be forced into labor. Article 24 of the Constitution. Child right. Prohibition of employment of children in factories. Children cannot be employed in factories. Now, from the Article 25 onwards, it talks about rights to freedom and religion. Somewhere, I don't know, you should understand that running a business is a constitutional right. I don't know where it is written. I will definitely come back to this in case I am not able to detect it now. Article 25 of the Constitution, freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion. Subject to the public order, morality and health, and to the other provisions of this part, all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and the right freely to profess, practice, and propagate religion. It's very important called propagate religion. Practice, profess, and propagate religion. You have got freedom of conscience to choose your religion. Article 25 of the Constitution. Now, Article 26 of the Constitution. Freedom of to manage religious affairs, subject to public order, morality, and health. Every religious denomination or any section thereof shall have the right to establish and maintain institutional religious and charitable purposes, to manage, to own affairs in matters of religion, to own and acquire movable and immovable property, to administer such property in accordance with law. That means you can use your own religious institution, you can create, and you can for religious or charitable purposes. It's a constitutional right. Freedom to the payment of taxes and promotion to any particular religion. That means in Article 27, no, the state cannot tax. Someone cannot tax you. And the proceeds of the tax cannot go to support in a religion. Article 27 of the Constitution. Article 28, freedom is to the attendance at religious instruction, religious worship in certain educational institutions. You can have start religion in this educational institution if the institution is not run by public funds. If the institution run by their private funds, they have got the liberty to practice to provide religious instruction. A constitutional issue. Now comes to Article 29, cultural and educational rights. protection of interests and of minorities. Article 29 of the Constitution. Any section of the citizens residing in the territory of India or any part thereof having a distinct language, script, or culture or its own shall have the right to conserve the same. That means minorities can conserve their culture. Most important thing, Article 30 of the Constitution, right of the minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. Minorities' right to establish and administer religious institutions. I think I told you up to Article 30. Article 31. Okay, it says about the compulsory acquisition of property. Don't worry about this too much. Don't worry about this too much. Article 31. See, you should understand that. I don't know, it's written somewhere. I'll find out and tell you very clearly. Within these fundamental rights, right to practice your own profession and business. I don't know where it is written. I will definitely emphasize on this. It has skipped my notice now, but it's a fundamental right to practice your own profession, business, or run your own business in any part of within the territory of India. You've got the right. The state cannot go against it. That means a pawn shop wala near your house. It is a constitutional right to run a business of his own, as long as he's not doing damage. Rights conferred by 32, 33 to modify rights conferred. That means all these articles say that the government has the right to modify these articles if and when they want. 34 conferred on partial martial law. This is a martial law. Article 34. So many of these rights will get confiscated. And 35 legislation to give effect to the provisions of this part. Notwithstanding anything in this constitution, Parliament may have the state shall not have power to make. That means that's again protecting the people. The state legislature does not have the power to make any laws which are contrary to the constitution. I think to some extent I have talked to you about section 2 of the constitution. I'm not, there's one more book, I don't go through that book. But I have to definitely tell you at some point in time the liberty to run your own business is an important constitutional right. That's a relationship between constitution and uh, constitution and the shall be ground of religion of the birth, residence, any employment or office. It is abolition of untouchability, freedom of speech. But you should understand that I don't know exactly which article it is, but still, for the time being, it's enough for you to understand that you can run your own business. That's right. I think I have touched upon in the session 2, Article 12 to Article 30 of the Constitution. Please go through that in some detail. If there's any refinement that is needed, I'll work on it in the session 3. Thank you very much. This is P.O. Subhash from Bangalore, India.